What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be focusing on the jab. Somebody commented and said, man, you have a crispy jab. Well, thank you. I appreciate it. And we are going to dive into exactly what I think the elements of forming a very crisp jab are. So before we dive in to talking about the jab, how to make it the crispiest punch you possibly can, I want to draw attention to this awesome Giorgio Petrosian t-shirt that I'm wearing. And this was actually a gift to me by somebody. His name's Danny. He flew all the way out from Toronto to Victoria to do some one-on-one training with me. And he brought me, look at that, a signed Giorgio Petrosian t-shirt. Amazing. Thank you so much, Danny. This guy has some skills and I'm looking forward to seeing what he can accomplish in the future in the ring. Now, remember that the jab in boxing is something that sets up pretty much everything else. But if your jab is sloppy and there's elements of it that are not really working, you need to clean it up. You need to make it crisp. And one of the gyms I actually go to, where I do a lot of my training as I'm prepping for fights, up on the mirror, they have a whole bunch of jab hashtags. I'm gonna throw a couple of them up right now so you can see what I'm talking about. And down in the comments, if you have your own jab hashtag, something that's gonna be fun, then I can get him to add to the wall. Throw it down below, have some fun, be creative, and let's move in to talking about how to make this punch super, super crispy. So the first thing we're looking to do, basically on any technique, this is what I stress to people time and time again, we want to make it as simple as possible. Simple means more effective, and you might not always think that, but it actually does. So wherever your hand placement is, remember always straight to the target, straight back. And that might seem like it's too simple, but that's what we need to do. We don't want any pull beforehand. We don't want any weird angles going out. We don't want to linger out there for too long. We want to hit, pull back, hit, pull back. Make that a priority. And as you're doing this, make sure you really focus on the fact that as your hand goes out, everybody thinks speed. But then as they pull back, they forget about speed. They go, whoop, and slow back. It needs to be out and back at the same speed. So we're maximizing that return speed so the whole punch gets done very quickly. Now, speed on its own is not enough to make a punch crispy and perfect, or as perfect as we can possibly be. There's so many other elements. So let's talk about what the other hand is doing, because that is just as important as this one. Not just in terms of defense, but also in terms of making sure we maximize the power. So if my hand's out here, I 100% need to make sure as I throw the jab out, the right hand pulls back to the head. This is going to help you create a little bit more power. As one hand pulls, the other extends out. It's kind of like in karate where they do this motion. You pull and you punch. Same idea, pull and punch. If your hand is already against your head, what you can do is just draw back a tiny bit, the slightest amount. And what this is going to do is it's going to help you remember and emphasize the shoulder twist. Because if I just jab and stay square, I'm not going to get a crispy, powerful jab. It has to be turn. When we turn, we create more distance, and that in turn creates more power. So let me show you what I mean by this. If my shoulders stay square and I throw straight out, that's the distance I get. As soon as I turn, I create more distance, and then that follow through could equal knockout jab power. Now remember, when we're throwing a jab, it's not shoulders rotate and hips stay square. That's fighting. That's a fighting motion. You're going to end up hurting your back. Turn everything. Whether you turn your foot and your knee over is up to you. Boxers will do that. Kickboxers don't as much because they're worried about the low kick counter. I personally don't worry about that. I have not found somebody that is fast enough to low kick me when I jab that they can actually time it that well. So I will very often turn my shoulder, my hip, and sometimes even my foot and my knee to my right side as I throw my jab straight out. In addition, to keep the jab very crisp and to have confidence behind it, we have talked about what the right hand does, but let's talk about what the left shoulder does. The left shoulder is going to draw high. When my left shoulder draws high, this means instead of having this big open area where my jaw can get tagged, if somebody throws an overhand right, I clean it up and I tuck it really tight, so now I'm protected. That's essentially what I'm doing. I'm coming from about here, straight out. Here, straight out. And that will give me so much more protection and confidence when I jab. In addition to this, we can talk about the footwork. Footwork can create more power. Now, how do I go about doing this? Well, a simple push forward will help create a little bit more momentum and will close distance. But I can also step and just let my weight fall a little bit. So now instead of punching straight out, my punch is dropping just a little bit. And then if I add in my shoulder twist, the pull of my arm, protecting all of that at once, is going to equal a very, very powerful jab. As is the case with any technique, if you want to perfect it, or as near as possible, you basically have to have the mentality that you can never perfect your technique, and you keep working and working and working, aspiring for something that you will never reach. Never fool yourself and think that you have a perfect technique and it never warrants more work. You can always go in front of the mirror, watch yourself, and look at straight to the target, straight back, pull the other hand back, protect your jaw with your shoulder, get all these elements in, then start adding what the lower body's doing, engaging through the shoulders and the hips and the knee and the foot even, adding that step in for extra power. All of it, bit by bit, with repetition, will start creating something that just looks phenomenal. A jab where you snap it out, you snap back, and people are going, whoo, look at that thing, that was scary. So I hope you guys enjoyed this little tutorial on how to achieve a crispy jab. I've said crispy so many times this episode, I'm almost getting sick of the word. But it's fun to say sometimes as well, because it's a good reference to just getting that hand straight out and keeping everything really, really sharp. So if you enjoyed the episode, please give it a like. If you haven't already, join the channel, get subscribed. Train hard, guys, work that jab, and I'll see you back here soon for another video.